even the start, we weren't paying each other a wage for ages. Yeah. And there's like, listen, we should probably start paying each other a little bit, something to kind of survive. And I'm like, oh.
Hello and welcome to an episode of Meijor League, the podcast for aspiring entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Don Meij, and our guests today are Nathan Anthony and Chris Anastasi, the co-founders of Muscle Nation. Muscle Nation is an Australian fitness and nutrition brand that specializes in high-quality supplements, activewear, and workout gear. The company aims to provide products that help individuals reach their fitness goals, whether it's building muscle, enhancing performance, or supporting recovery. Muscle Nation is known for its premium ingredients, attention to detail, and strong community-focused approach. Nathan and Chris were kind enough to join me in my home to record this episode. Really keen to hear how it all started. Go back as far as you want. You know, where does all this inspiration come from?
It all started when we met each other, both in our own fields of our passions, which was probably marketing, and working from Sydney, and you were in Brisbane. Yep. And I think the internet has come about. Facebook just started, Instagram just started, and this new phenomenon just entered our worlds. And I feel like we connected. We're both Greek boys, Greek background. So I feel like being Australian Greek boys, you kind of connect with each other a bit more and kind of talk the slang a little bit. And I think marketing was our connecting point. And from that, I feel like we had a really keen eye on where social media was going. At the start, it was so organic. We talk about UGC these days. Back then, it was all UGC. There was no meta, kind of ads. It was all organic. It was branding. It was excitement. It was authenticity. And we saw social media evolving so fast that we were talking about every day about, the algorithm, the likes, the shares, the comments, people had to get engagement, the growth. And from doing that in our own realms and business, kind of like, employment, we kind of like just decided one day we're ready. Like we spent years, kind of sharpening our own knives and our own talent, our own skill sets. And
were you doing any test products at that time? Or when you say sharpening skills, how were you sharpening your skills?
So I was selling advertising through Instagram channels, like big Instagram channels. At the time, it was very popular. And Chris was working for a big other online brand.
A startup online brand that kind of like started from nothing, had a product, and we got, okay, let's market on social. Like I feel like we were one of the first brands that did influencer marketing. One of the first brands giving products to people, posting, buy from here, and it kind of like, it snowballed into now, wow, like you actually can like make money doing this. You can make sales and send traffic and get awareness and brand out there. And that's what I was doing in a business working. I feel like I was an entrepreneur in another business. And when you feel like, holy shit, I'm running this show, I'm driving this car, it felt so exciting to be able to like direct it to where it went. And it became from a startup to a multi-million-dollar company. And I think that's the confidence that I had that, wow, there's something about me that I get this game. And same with Nathan, like he was doing really well.
Yeah, I was trying to sell things on eBay or Facebook Marketplace or left, right and center, whatever I could sell. But it was very hard back then purely because of Australia Post setup. It wasn't set up for online yet. So I kind of stopped that and I moved to an Instagram marketing kind of mentality. And I built the biggest fitness Instagrams in the world at the time. And I was selling paid advertising to the biggest brands in the world at the time.
It was like a billboard on social media. Yeah. So his pages had millions of people reached and followers, and companies will pay him to put a post of theirs on his page to get in front of eyes.
Like an ad, essentially.
Yeah, so it's like Meta, but like getting eyeballs on your brain, but through his pages, because back then there wasn't Meta to get ads. Yeah,
and that I guess helped build cash supply and that kind of thing. And then from there, I knew that was gonna taper down as soon as Instagram wanted to start fixing the algorithm and not fixing the algorithm, changing the algorithm and doing all that.
Or paying to reach people. Remember at that stage when you used to posting, if you had 10,000 followers, you were reaching 10,000 followers.
Yeah.
And now like we saw like Instagram changing and the algorithm changing. And that's when Nathan realized, okay, again, I think the key word in this podcast for us is diversifying. We knew when to change really quickly. And I feel like that's both our skill sets in our own little worlds. And Nathan realized like the reach on his pages wasn't like it used to be. He needs to change. Yeah. And I think that's where Muscle Nation.
And we actually met for the first time at a fitness expo, which I think...
So you've just been talking online?
Just online.
How did you even get to meet online? Like
we didn't meet... Well, I think you reached out to me.
Yeah.
On one of the pages.
So you're just fans
from afar,
Yeah, just from afar.
admiring each other's work.
And then we met at an expo, a fitness expo, and then surprisingly, our launch into the Australia was at a fitness expo. We threw all our dollars at it. Cost us maybe $100,000. We had no money, and it just took off.
I think the lesson
So you
there.
created a product, brought it to an expo, and we're doing that from afar.
We created a bunch of T-shirts and we had products. We'd already launched the brand, but our real first Muscle Nation's here.
If we rewind a little bit, it's like, I think the key thing here for people listening is like networking. I think the start for us was like being around the right people, the mindset, people that were motivated, understood the game, and I think that's what got us together.
Yeah.
And I think from being around the right people and around mindsets, I feel like, okay, sometimes in your life, you have family and friends, really close to you, they might have advice, but they don't understand what you're doing. And I went through that, I think like the game we were in back then in social media, no one understood it.
Yep.
Get a job, finish university, stick to what you're doing, stick to what you know. And I feel like that was the norm. But these days, like we spoke about off air before, like there's so much opportunity out there. And I think like back then it was hard for us to take advice from people around us because we were in a different world. And we got together, Muscle Nation started. And
where did Muscle Nation come from? Who came up with the name?
Nathan.
I already had the name.
Right.
And then, just stuck.
Nathan came to me and goes, listen, I've got this brand, Muscle Nation, and I don't know what to do. You know what to do. Let's get together and just like figure out what we're going to do together.
I remember I said, we can really do something. There's a gap in Australia.
Yeah.
Yep.
There was already like Gymshark had started to take off a bit, but there was nothing really in Australia. And we saw that gap, and we knew that we could do it a bit different. And our focus was to build a community and to showcase what we were doing to everyone.
Building a community, what does that mean to somebody who's a novice from outside? How do you build a community? What does that mean?
Back in the day, when we first started, the goal was literally just to bring people along for the journey. Yeah. So showcase everything, literally everything.
Our whole marketing was value add.
Yeah.
I think from training, we had good athletes, influencers, part of the brand that were good trainers.
This is all fashion at this point.
Yeah, good.
Fashion.
Yeah,
just
only
activewear.
Activewear,
Yep.
So it was like, we brought people into the brand by giving a lot of value at the start. Yep. And I feel like back then that worked. These days, I think the consumers changed a little bit and the playing field has changed a lot. So I feel like, if you try and copy and paste what we did at the start to now, it's not going to work. It's got to be different relatable to what's happening now in market and what people want. And like perception and perspective. Like you can have your perception about something and you can have your perception about something, but I have to see where you're coming from and we understand what the consumer wants and what they want at different stages throughout the years or, I guess like our cycle in business. Yeah. You understand it's not about what you want. You've got to understand what they want. And you bring it together and you have a very powerful model of thought, moving forward.
So you get $100,000 together, you're buying all this gear. Did you just bulk buy it and bring it to a function?
No, we had the stock. We were already selling online out of my grandma's garage.
That was cool. Yeah, literally grandma's garage.
We knew the fitness expo was like, at the time, pre-COVID, it was
before Ducks Nuts. The fitness expo was an option. It cost money. We didn't have the money. I remember this conversation. Remember the conversation? Yeah. We sat there in an office, or homemade office, Bunnings tables, and we got the quote from the expo. As you do, you get excited. How much does it cost to be here? That's where we should be as a brand right now. These days, it's changed. Expos haven't got the impact you used to have back in the days. And this invoice came through like 6x3, remember?
Yeah.
6x3. And I was like, oh,
it's like 50 grand.
How are we going to pay this? And we're like, Nathan's like, we've got to do it.
Just
I said,
for
no.
Just for a weekend.
Yeah.
Just for 2 days, yeah.
So Nathan goes, we've got to do it. I was against it. He goes, we've got to scrape through. Just trust me, we've got to do this. And I was like, oh, okay. That's where this partnership comes in now. Like, if I see, like, my best man, my partner is passionate about something, it doesn't matter what I think. If he wants to go for it, you got it, brother. I got your back. And I feel like throughout stages, we've both been a bit like, passionate about something more than the other. But I feel like our energy has been able to bounce off each other and let the other person lead. And every time the other person's led, we've succeeded.
Love it. I'm going to come back to that and talk about when it didn't work too, so how you dealt with that. But So keep going. So
we committed
scrape the money.
We committed to this expo.
Scrape the money.
We scraped the money.
We hired a trailer. We drove from Brisbane to Melbourne.
We built the booth ourselves.
Proper bootstrap,
Dad
cash.
built it.
In the garage?
In the garage. We hired a trailer. We drove it to Melbourne.
From Brisbane.
We invested in, was it 6,000 or 5,000 free T-shirts?
The whole thing for the expo was to go there, Muscle Nation. No one done this before. and just give t-shirts for free. Just get the brand everywhere around the Melbourne city. You wake up in the morning, go train in the gym. There's Muscle Nation written everywhere, and we felt like our goal for the weekend was Muscle Nation. I don't care if you buy stuff or not. Couldn't care less. Muscle Nation.
Right.
And after that weekend, everyone knew Muscle Nation, and we're there to stay, type of thing.
There's like a kilometre-long line. People line up for a free shirt,
Right.
which, of course, it's free.
Yeah.
But they're all wearing it the next day.
And
Everyone's
what was
around the
differentiated
streets.
about the shirt too? So the brand, but is the quality? Was it
No,
a muscle shirt? What was
The context.
Yeah, it wasn't.
We still have this T-shirt in the brand now.
Yeah, it
with this
didn't-
logo now, this more minimal logo.
It didn't reinvent the wheel, but it was a strong Muscle Nation branding, and it was free, and it just propelled us.
People just went online and started buying more.
But that's the thing. I think people always want to be part of something. A startup, a new company, a bit of a movement. You make them feel good. You service them. You have good customer service. And over the years, I feel like people back then were so brand loyal that they want to be part of this movement. But I guess over time now, consumers are like, okay, I like 3, 4, 5, 6 brands. I'm happy to buy when they're on special. Grab and go. So I feel like back then we had this momentum of great athletes being part of the brand, a great feeling about us, a new brand, doing something different. And we actually got a lot of momentum, a lot of noise in the industry. And from that, regardless of what you released, even though we love what we released, people were supporting you. They were supporting this Aussie company.
And I feel like we gave our customers a voice too. We'd let them choose colours or styles or help
online once they got going.
Yeah, like we'd do polls and things like that to really bring our customers in and give their opinion a voice. And
so we had thousands of customers buying into a new collection from months before because they're on the journey of what kind of patterns, what colours, how high the waistband should go.
Before you even got the stock, at least you got
they're already committed to us.
Yeah. And then they felt a part of it.
You kept doing this.
Kept doing clothes.
Lines.
16 or 17.
2016 we launched.
Yeah. And then when was Sups? 18?
19.
19. Okay. 19
So
with
3
supplements.
years later, I think we're doing Muscle Nation, activewear. We're so excited, doing so well. And I'm sure you know this feeling when you're doing so well, but you feel like you're doing less work. And you're growing and you're making all this money and you're reinvesting and you're like, okay, this doesn't feel right. I'm not working as hard as I used to be. We've got to change this up. And I remember when I came to you and said, we've got to do supplements.
Yeah.
We've got to do supplements. We have this community in fitness. It's, we're servicing them with a product they're already buying with another company.
Yep.
And we started releasing supplements, a protein, a pre-workout, all that kind of stuff. And always quality, good tasting products. And
was there anything unique about what you were doing that gave you a position in the marketplace?
I think at the time, supplements looked very hardcore and very
very Americanized,
intimidating
back in those days.
to the Gen Pop.
Yep.
And I feel like we came out with this fun branding, good looking products, nice flavors.
Rainbow sherbet.
We could just
the lemon one. Yeah.
And we just kind of already had the database of people that go to the gym and take these products. So naturally it was going to work.
Yeah.
And we got all the supplement store buy-ins.
But it's still a big risk because you're
Still a big risk.
diversifying.
You watch now where we are, and activewear companies have tried to do what we've done, and it hasn't worked. And I do feel like back then we had such a strong community and growth trajectory, a database, like they're saying, all about the data. We had this database of loyal customers. Our return customers was huge. Our first-time customers was huge. We were this brand on the up, and it felt like this was the right time to really kind of capture the next stage of Muscle Nation.
Yeah. I think I still think we're the only brand to this day to go from activewear to supplements successfully.
Yeah. And is it now the bigger part of the business, the supplements?
Well, the grocery side of the supplements is,
Right.
but that's just purely because it's a volume game. When we're talking supplements as stages, there's the online supplements and the wholesale sup stores. And then in 2021, we moved to grocery, which is more like supplements, but also food, health food and drinks and protein snacks and that kind of thing, which is purely because of the amount of doors we're in. It's just
phenomenal,
gone crazy.
And do you see people who go into retail then go back online and so on? Does it work like that, or are they separate customers?
It's hard to quantify that, really. That's probably the biggest thing that I've been thinking about lately is, we sold 4 million products in grocery last month. How many of those people are actually shopping online as well? We would never know.
How can we get those people online? That'd be great to know.
So we're trying to map that data to see if there's any relationship there. And I'm sure there is. You're not just...
Maybe incentivize them with a QR code.
Yes, something like that.
You're working on that on the lead.
It's definitely something that we want to really hone into, because there's a lot of people that know Muscle Nation that are buying us.
But that's the most important thing. Like, people know Muscle Nation, trust Muscle Nation. Even our out-of-home marketing strategy at the moment, our top of funnel stuff we're doing is like, okay, what's the goal in 2025 in Q1 and Q2 and the rest of the years? Like, everyone should know Muscle Nation. Like, it goes back to the first principle at the expo. Everyone needs to know Muscle Nation, and then you've got to get the trust. And I feel like we're at this stage now where, like, we've entered this new space, this new exciting kind of growth trajectory we're on. And it's like, okay, we're there, we're selling well, but we can do better. Like, how do you get better? Just get people to know you and like you. And I think that's kind of like what we're trying to unlock right now.
So how did you? So I'm just transitioning this. So you're straight into supplements. I mean, what do you know about manufacturing supplements? So how do you jump in there? I'm sure you're buying them. Because
we started manufacturing in America. We flew to America to manufacture
the first runs, because America was making in Australia. I think powder, pre-workouts, protein. It wasn't a very common thing to make in Australia.
Not at the time.
Not at that time. And that's why it shows you where.
Talking 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and to understand, like, we went to America to make products because we couldn't make in Australia. Yep. We couldn't flavor them nice in Australia. So that's what Nathan said before. It's like we came from America to bring supplements over, and then our key thing was our flavoring, our packaging was fun and actually tastes good for once. Yeah. But then after that, I feel like the market in Australia with manufacturing grew, which was really good for us. But manufacturing capabilities in Australia aren't where Europe and America are.
Still not is.
Yeah, it's not there.
It's better, but it's still not at that level.
But in saying that, like, I feel like you got to find the right manufacturing partners that can service you. And also, the CMGP, all their kind of quality controls are there. And you got to make sure, like, your raw ingredients are tested from overseas to make sure your quality is there and your QC and all that. So I feel like, you got to find the right partners. And through our journey, we've changed a couple of manufacturing partners because our growth trajectory, they couldn't match our pace. Same with your staff sometimes. Like, you have team members that, okay, you're moving so fast, but they're not improving. They're not getting better. And unfortunately, like, as an organization, you got to find the right people to match the pace of your movement as well. And that's important also when you're hiring as well.
And I think moving into an unknown space was probably the biggest challenge for us. Like, yes, we sold supplements online and in supplement stores, but going into grocery, it's just a whole other business.
That's the easy part. Making a powder to put in a tub and then put it on your website and just see how you go when you sell, or distribute it to supplement shops around Australia, is probably how any startup business would do it, because there's low barriers to entry. It's like when you make a new garment or a t-shirt, it's low barriers to entry, but how do you sell it? How do you market it? It gets competitive then. And we do feel like, when we transition from activewear to supplements, there's a lot of learnings, but not as many. Like, it's pretty easy to do. But then you go from supplements to now this FMCG space, with Coles, Woolworths, Chemist Warehouse, Ampol, BP, Coles Express, 7-Eleven, Costco. It's like even Amazon now pumping for us. Yep. It's like, this is a different ball game. This volume, this commercials you got to deal with.
And so take us through. So there's 2 of you.
Yep.
Who are the next employees or team members?
Under us directly?
Yeah, like like as you're growing from the back of the garage with the Bunnings desks.
Nathan and I started. We hired his 2 brothers to do our 3PL pick and pack. Organically, that went from his grandma's to our first little garage space to the second, third, fourth warehouse.
It's a Greek business.
Then after that, like, his wife, Demi, was in accounting. Yeah. And she finished a degree and she's like, stuff this, I want to come work for you guys. Like, this is great, this is mad. I want to support my husband. Fantastic. Yeah. Then randomly we had one of Nathan's friends and Demi's wife's girlfriends working as a
she was a dentist
assistant. And after work, she used to drive from Gold Coast to our warehouse, a little shoebox, to pack orders for us, to hang out and just help us out. And we're like, Jess, do you want a job? Because, like, we need help. And she's like, yeah, mad. Let's join the journey.
You know what? She's still with us to this day.
Demi. And then next was Dula, athlete manager, came along at a warehouse to pack orders when she was on uni break holidays. And then she was doing psychology. Yeah, and then finished and got a job and didn't get a second placement. And she's like, I'll just work for you guys a little bit. I said, yeah, mad. And then she's been there since that day.
Yeah. So who's doing the designing as you're going in this first phase of the clothing? Did you bring in a designer, or you guys just making it
just us and my wife?
But we're passionate about it. Like, we're in market, seeing what's around. We're very, like, I feel like in tune with what's happening as well, and garments and quality.
There's no budget for designers then.
Yeah. Okay. So then today, like, the amount of flavors, and you're evolving, and, you go into retail and they want flavor change all the time for innovation.
Yeah.
How do you do all that?
Sometimes you got to keep it simple. Like, it's like protein. What sells the best? Chocolate, vanilla, strawberry banana. Like that's fine. Like, but
The innovation of products.
yeah, but when we released a new flavor like a pistachio flavor protein powder, and you bring some excitement because right now pistachio is trending, and we released a protein bar and a powder, and it went nuts. So I feel like it's not about just pumping out these new exclusive kind of flavors every time. You've got to be careful because your basic consumer loves their chocolates, loves their vanillas. They're your baseline, your staples, and then you bring some excitement to that kind of like realm when you have to. And
You don't want to cannibalize your best-selling flavors as well.
Overcomplicate with more lines, but still sell the same amount of product.
Correct. That just creates more headaches.
Yeah.
Which we've learnt that.
yeah,
But surely you've got someone who's specialising in tastes and flavours, and
Yeah, we've got a head NPD scientist.
Food
What do you want
scientist.
to call her? She's.
really good.
I
at what
don't
she
want
does.
to say she's the best in Australia, but I'd say she's probably the best in Australia.
When you have this team that we have, that are so good at what they do, and you realize we just pump out all these quality products, you start realizing that these guys are unbelievable. Like, and we're so grateful to have this team around us, not just MPD, marketing, design.
Yeah.
We have like this small knit team, and you've seen when we have meetings, there's not that many people, but you don't need a lot of people. You need quality.
Yeah.
You need people to kind of buy into your vision and, love the brand and come to work and you see everyone wearing Muscle Nation and like so proud of, working for this organization. And that's what makes us like wake up every morning and really get excited to be at work, because you walk in and you go in meetings and we talk, but these days we don't talk as much. They take control, and that's what you want. You want them to be talking your ideas out, and then you jump in when you have to give a bit of direction.
Yep.
And that's what kind of like makes me really excited to see the development of our own team and what they've done for the business, and very invaluable to us. Very
you've
grateful.
kept yourselves both privately owned. You haven't brought on other
No,
shareholders.
at the moment, just privately owned. And I think that allows us to be more nimble and flexible with what we do. And
I'm getting goosebumps. Like, we're still bootstrapped. Like, we sit there and, we see other business owners, probably spending too much too soon. And I think for us in this, I think the top 3 brands in our space, especially in the grocery and all that kind of stuff, within sports and
they're all
diet, they're
investor-owned.
not owned by, they're not Australian companies. Muscle Nation is the only Australian company that's playing with the 3 big boys. One's in New Zealand, the other one got bought out by a Swedish group. And so I feel like, if Australia knew that we're the only Australian company and everything that we do stays in Australia, they might support us a bit more. But sometimes, like, that consumer only cares about.
Why don't you tell them more people?
We will.
We're proud of that still. And I think,
But it has its challenges, though. Like, being bootstrapped, it's like, okay, we didn't know that we were going to have all these cash flow issues when we moved into the grocery space, because we're used to getting paid up front. Now we're getting paid
60 days later or
60
30 days later.
and we've got to reinvest into stock
And
that we've
it's
got to
big
hold,
volume.
and it's big volumes, and you're obviously not going to get into the numbers, but
No. But sometimes can even be different margins when you're the whole supply chain yourself. So now you've got to share it with another partner for retail.
correct. And it was a massive eye opener for us, and probably for me, one of the biggest learning curves is, if I were to give someone any advice that was getting into that space, really do your cash flow and if you're going to get finance or whatever you're going to do, you need to get that sorted from the start, because if we didn't have a strong online business to support the grocery business, we would have been done. The only way we were able to get through it is because we had an
Cash
already
flow.
successful business.
Well, you went from startup where you were almost, even as you said, sometimes people are placing orders in advance before you even manufacture. So you're getting the cash to all of a sudden you've got 60 days out.
End of month.
Yeah, and you've got all the suppliers and
But
everything
I
else.
think
So
that's
And you've got to hold surplus stock, and probably the second hardest challenge away from the cash flow is the growth. The quicker you grow, the more you got to invest as well. So combine that with the payment terms and all that, and it just
and stock. But also I feel like it's credit to Nathan and myself where like we understand that this business, needs the money. Like, even though, we own the company and, the money's ours, the money's not ours. The money's the company's. And I
fuels the
feel like
company.
we're living like that. Our mentality for the business is number one, and I feel like our money stays in the business, and we know that we prefer ranging, like now with Woolworths, 15 new products coming in. We prefer our money going there and investing into that project than us kind of pulling out and living this life. And I feel like with any business owner, and I think for people listening in, young guys, it's like, or girls, when you go into business, you got to realize that, you still live really lean, every day. It doesn't matter 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. You go from 1 mil to 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 to now 100 plus.
I always say the bigger you get, the poorer you get.
But the thing is,
Like the
From a cash flow point of view,
yes,
you're building
yes.
an immense amount of equity.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
But that
And
you don't
one day if you
realize.
ever sell the business, people have to give you that money back.
That's the
Correct,
thing.
yeah.
We spoke about. We went to this gathering a couple of years ago, and they were talking about what's your exit strategy. And Nathan and I sat there, looked at each other, and I'm like, "Huh, what?
Yeah, we didn't even
What do
thought
you
about
mean?"
that.
And like they're like, "Oh, what's your exit strategy?" Obviously, in business, you build this business up, you invest all your money, you live this, a normal lifestyle, not as exuberant as you would think you would. But then, like, your exit is your payout. It's like owning a house and paying it off, and then 20 years later, it's worth all this money. That's your payout. And I feel like for us, to this day, it's like we're kind of building a brand that we want to ride into the sunset. That's our mentality. We're not setting up for sale. We're not setting up anything like that. And our goal is to make it high profit, big distribution, and then just reach more doors. And we're doing that
A lot of
slowly.
people don't realize you're doing an immense amount of compulsory saving.
Yeah.
Like you're forcing yourself with all this growth to actually save the money back into the business, which is actually creating more value. So it's a magical thing.
It's a long-term game.
Yeah, it's a long game.
Yeah,
Definitely.
And so from here now, you've got so many channels. You've got your online business, about half your business today.
I would say probably about just under half now.
Under half now. Huge retail,
And not
and
because it's slowed down, it's because the other side's growing so fast.
Yeah.
Like e-com and online is still growing, but not at the rate where like the other side's growing. And we feel
just
like
a volume game.
Well, you're getting into so many outlets. Like you're now in the big supermarket chains, you're in the chemist warehouses, you're in Ampol. You talked about going on to Amazon as well.
So Amazon's, I'm sure you can see they're going very hard in Australia at the moment.
Yeah.
And as a result, naturally, so is any brand on there.
Yeah.
And we're growing very quick on Amazon at the moment.
And so is it all staying in Australia or are customers overseas through the online? Do you have a percentage going to New Zealand, to the US?
Honestly, last time I checked, it was about 75% Australia. Right. And then the rest was like kind of scattered. New Zealand and America were the next two. Yep. And then the rest was just scattered.
Our investment has been Australia. And sometimes people say, America is a big market. You can kind of like push some investment in there for growth. But it's like, okay, but the brand's not growing in America. The brand's growing in Australia. 75% Australia has allowed us to go into diversifying into the grocer supermarkets, to go be successful in there. If we diversify into America to make a bit extra money with the volume out there, then we wouldn't have the brand we have in Australia to be able to do what we do in this other space. So you've got to be careful. We're very kind of mindful where we invest our money because right now, if we didn't do what we did, we wouldn't be where we are with the grocer and the supermarket chains.
You got to look at the risk versus reward. Yeah. Like, there could be a huge upside of going to America, but we know there's a pretty safe bet if we keep doing what we're doing in Australia.
Yeah. And so we were talking to you in 5 and 10 years from now. What is there new product lines? Is there, where does the business develop over the next 5 to 10 years? Doesn't sound like you're quitting anytime soon. It's only an 8-year-old company with this incredible performance.
I think 5-10, we spoke about like America. Like I think for me, taking Muscle Nation to America is not the dream, but is a big challenge. And I feel like we spoke about before about e-com to supplements to the grocer. And every time we've done this kind of pivot and diversifying our brand is because we felt like we're doing so well and we're not working as hard. It feels like it's too easy. You get complacent, you get lazy, but also you stay out of tune of the market a little bit because, your finger isn't on the pulse anymore because maybe you don't have to. Like, you look amazing or you look, great, but you don't have to train as hard as anymore because, you've reached the goal, but the goalposts are always moving. And I feel like with Nathan and I, once it gets to a stage in a few years, once we reach our goals in Australia and our new goals will change. And I feel like that's when a big investment in America will come where it's not just you go in there and hope for the best. You got to go there as a brand. You've got to invest in your brand. You've got to invest in your products, invest in manufacturing over there and bring success as we know what it takes to bring success over there as well.
Yeah, and I think like the online space in 5 years will be completely different to what it is now. And it's our job to make sure we're staying in touch with that change. Every day it changes. There's something changing
but right now
it's crazy how it changes.
Right now the market's so meta-driven. Like you can build organic brands and all that back in the day, but these days unless you know your numbers and you're spending wisely on meta and all that and it's very hard to make it out there if you're not on meta and doing well on meta. And I feel like you can go to Amazon and become an Amazon brand, but you're not building a brand. You're just selling a product.
So when you're saying that it gets too easy, you've said that a couple of times. So what does your life look like? When do you start? I imagine you still work out like crazy. It's part of your brand. So how does your day look?
I wake up.
What time?
He's got 2 kids that are bouncing.
6:30.
6:30, yeah.
Get the kids ready.
Yeah.
Drop them to kindy. We'll drop one of them kindy. I got one that's only 8 weeks old.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. And then head straight to the office there about 8:30, and then usually leave by 5:30.
Yep.
If I train, it'll be either before work or after work. But my training has definitely taken a beating, which, probably want to get back into it more and make it a priority.
Yeah. I imagine whenever you've taken the step into something, that's when you're training. You could probably do a correlation to your training and the big projects to when it gets easier again. And
it's like, if it's Black Friday, I won't train for the whole, few weeks. But that's not saying it's the right thing to do. Like, Chris is very into his training.
Yeah.
And, for him, it's probably an important part of his mental health, but also his probably development in life as well.
What's your day look like, Chris?
Well, the thing is, I'll rewind, 10 years ago when we first met, and same routine. It's like up at 5, you train, you go have your shake after, as you do.
How many hours are you training in the morning?
Just 1 hour. You go in and like headphones on, world off, and you just kind of go. Because I feel like in the morning, there's no one in the office. There's no messages. You train night times, there's still stakeholders messaging, talking, your phone's going off. It's unbelievable. You can't disconnect.
You can't disconnect.
So getting up early is important for me because, you enter the world when everyone else is kind of not entering yet. And for me, just train, then I go to work and then work all day, a lot of intensity. But also what hasn't changed for me is like podcast in the car, or going to my phone. Self-development is big for me. And I feel like back in the day, my habits have stayed the same to they have today, 8 years on after we started Muscle Nation. And for me, like Nathan said, it's very important. I'm very regimented in my routine. If my routine changes, I don't like that. That's why I feel like when I not working
You're a
as hard.
tough traveler then.
Oh, very tough.
Yeah.
And
when we travel for manufacturing, it kills him.
Yeah.
It kills me, but I love the work.
Yeah.
I love the work. But I'm still
when I say
training.
it kills him, it's like, it's just,
Yeah, the shift away from.
But it's like the shift away from like that work ethic that you have. I feel like growing up with nothing and you feel like your whole life you've been trying your hardest, your best, be it when you're young boy, I gave my all to play soccer, to go and enter the A-League and all that kind of stuff. And you give it your all for that period and you realize, okay, well, got injured. This might not happen. The dream's kind of falling apart. What's next? Went to uni, PE teaching, went all in with that, started with that, 3.5 years in, social media started. I was out. I was like, couldn't finish it. Then my mom was like, hey, son, like, you never finish anything you start. And you know what? Back then, it was true. And I feel like I'm a failure. Holy shit, I can't finish anything. What's wrong with me? But looking back now, I feel like, no. It's not because I couldn't finish anything. I wasn't in the right channel. I wasn't in the right place to succeed. And I feel like when I put myself in social media and marketing, I was at home. I was so motivated and driven. And for me personally, like, when I say about, and I said a couple of times, like you mentioned, you're not feeling like you're working as hard. It's because working hard is your normal. And if you kind of like, 80% of that, you don't feel right. And you start getting a bit agitated. And that's what with Nathan and myself, like, we feel like we challenge ourselves within the business. For me, the business is my vehicle to a destination. And I choose where I go. And if I can kind of use this vehicle to work harder or drive harder or go left and right, that's what I use Muscle Nation to kind of keep me accountable as a person, I feel like.
Yeah.
And very disciplined. I'm into my discipline.
So let's pivot back to the partnership.
Yes.
What happens when it goes wrong? When one of you is really passionate about an idea and then
I think we just have a conversation.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, we both know that we want the same thing for the company. Same end result.
Yeah.
How we get there is we have a conversation. We talk. Like he'll give me his opinion. I'll give him my opinion. Like Chris said before, if he's passionate about something, I'll let him have it. If I'm passionate about something, he'll let me have it. It's not at the end of the day, it's not a dictatorship or it's not it's his way or my way. It's
like you have a partner or wife or, a child and you really love that person. It doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. If they are passionate or they have an opinion, you respect that. Yep. And I think with Nathan, I love him. He's my best friend. He's my brother. Like we grew up together the past 8-9 years.
I christened
my son. And I feel like when you have that love for someone, if you have a different opinion, you're happy to let your guard down and not worry about it. It's not worth it. I don't care. Couldn't care less.
Yeah, because it's also a friendship here. It's not.
But in saying that, honestly, I can't even remember us having that conversation. Yeah. I'll be honest with you. We've been so supportive of each other because you love each other. You want to. I generally want to make Nathan happy in my business. Like if I can't do something to make him proud of me and give me a pat on the back, like I feel like I failed him. And you don't want to fail your friends or your family. And I feel like I put a lot of weight on my shoulders to make Nathan happy. And that's for me, first and foremost, is I want to make Nathan happy. And if he's happy, we're happy. And that kind of puts me in the second spot away from being the main person around when we're together. I'm in the passenger seat when we're together. And I'm happy to do that.
And I feel the same way. But don't get me wrong, like daily we're like, okay, do we like that color? Do we like that color? Like we're always like,
And that's been one of the keys to success, right? How you really
Well, we've seen like we've seen other partnerships in business that, guys have come to us and say, how do we work together? And they've failed businesses because of, issues and, selling out because obviously they can't get along anymore. And I sit there and, I think over the years we've realized we have something special. And, even that day we're like, wow, we're still so in line with what's happening in our business and our mental and our money, and et cetera. And I feel like, we're very blessed to be in this position because we know it's very rare. It's very, very rare. Even we joke around saying, when we're 80 years old, be at Cyprus playing, backgammon together. But that's the dream for us to always be together, do things together.
Yeah. And I agree. Away from business, we're great friends, which is I think is important.
So tell us about the products that didn't work.
I'm trying to think, like what's a product that
there's been a lot of learnings. Okay, even though there's products that didn't work, they're still in market. They're still selling. But I guess when you're in market and you have products on the shelf, as you know, you pay rent to be on that shelf. So what we do really well with the business, we optimize shelf space. So we go, after 6 months, 12 months, we review our products, sales, how they're going, is there growth in the category? And you realize you're paying all this rent. You can be pulling out these products that are going okay, but they should be going good. So I feel like we've had learnings about category.
Do you not tweak them, or do you think they just...
I got a product that didn't work.
Okay, which one?
Our chocolate bars.
No, the protein chocolate blocks.
Yeah, sorry.
The blocks.
Chocolate blocks.
Okay.
We thought we're going to revolutionize the game with protein chocolate blocks.
And we thought we were the first. We released it, and next thing we know, our two competitors released at the same time. We're like, okay, well, they were thinking what we're thinking. This is great.
Yeah.
This is great. But they all failed, all of them. But we still have one flavor left on shelf because we were the best-selling one from the rest. So we kept one on shelf. But in saying that, my learning from that was just learn to fail and get your learnings. Like you can't get all wins in everything that you do. And I feel like if you're excited about something, which we generally were, we manufacture it, the packaging looked great, went on shelf, it sold better than the rest. But again, it didn't reach the heights we expected to. And then you just move on. There's no emotion. It's just learning.
And it's hard because when there's nothing else in market at the time, you don't have any data to go off.
Yeah.
So
you're pioneering.
You're pioneering. And when you're pioneering, there's always a risk.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, like this product came out and I thought about it after when it wasn't selling to what I thought it would sell. And I was like, okay, let's be honest, would I buy this? Or would I just buy a normal chocolate block when I want chocolate? And I realized, you know what, even I would only buy a proper chocolate block when it's on special, by the way. And you stock up then. But see, I feel like that's what made me learn that, okay, only release something you're really passionate about. And right now, I feel like you'll see these 15 new products releasing at Woolworths in the next couple of weeks. And you'll learn, okay, this is what I'm passionate about. And I know they're going to do so well. But the other learning we released energy drinks. And my learning here was that we had external advice that the 500 ml, the larger cans, sell best at service stations. And we're like, oh, okay, we get that for your Monsters and all your other brands and your all that kind of stuff. And we're like, oh, okay, we get that. But our demographic and brand, we have a lot of females in our brand.
Mostly females.
And a big can.
Really?
70% females.
Of your brand?
Yeah.
Okay, I wouldn't have guessed that.
But, I feel like this can was suited for males and because of the large size of it. And girls love the small V cans and all that, the 250s. And we got advice from, people to go this size. This is what the data shows. We're going to service stations. And we went that way. We released it. And it's going well. But then we had a lot of consumers, like our customers.
Big.
Yeah, too big.
They're big for women.
Yeah. And we at work with fridges full of energy drinks, 500, and they're bringing 250s in. Yeah. And we're like, why? It's just the size. It goes hot and it sits there and like whatever.
Too big. I don't want a full one. I've got to throw it out.
We pivoted really quickly now, and now we relaunched 250s at Woolworths and BP in 2 flavors, and they're selling amazing. So it's not the product. Sometimes it's the size.
Packaging.
Yeah, the packaging. It's all
marketing.
That. Yeah.
You just don't know.
And which is your favorite products that you sell? Which ones do you pretty well consume also every day?
Protein bars for me.
Which flavors?
My favorite product at the moment is our protein ice cream. Yeah, I have probably a tub every second night or every night.
But see, I think that's another thing for us. Like,
Protein ice cream. I
we-
hadn't seen
we
that.
went from the sports and diet aisle and diversifying because our goal is to be the number one protein brand across aisle. You know,
Okay.
be it frozen
Across the whole
food,
grocery store.
frozen, anything. And I feel like you got to earn that right to go cross categories.
And is it a low sugar or is it a high sugar? Or is it a
It's a low sugar, low carb, high protein
how many
and-
grams in a tub?
25?
of protein. Yeah.
Yeah.
25 to 26.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I think the difference between us and other brands that are doing protein ice cream is that their first ingredient is water, you know, for costs. And with the water, you see protein ice creams, they're very icy in texture, but we use milk, like fresh milk as our first ingredient. So it gives that creamy texture. And I feel like, yeah, we're not making amazing margin on it. It's still okay, but we prefer to keep the consumer happy. But the volumes are coming through now, you know, showing that, okay, we've made the right decision. And we're selling it for $2.50 or $2 more than the normal one.
Yeah.
But and the market was like, okay, what our advice was like, if you sell it a bit more expensive, that's not the price for this ice cream tub. And we're like, no, trust me, for quality in this category, people will pay a little bit extra.
It's not cheap. It's $12 for a tub.
But it's
Probably
working.
the same price as regular premium ice cream, isn't
Yeah,
it?
True.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's, as you said,
And
it's
again,
protein.
another challenge dealing with frozen. So you got frozen transport and
But
all
I
that kind
love
of
learning this stuff. Hey, that's
Yeah.
what we
Well,
do.
you just keep doing whole different supply chain
Yep.
products. It's incredible.
Yep.
What's your biggest challenge right now?
right now, I touched on cash flow, but away from that, I would say it's probably, staffing, finding good quality staff, especially in Brisbane, because we love an in-house culture because everyone's there bouncing off each other. Sometimes
It's very
I feel
collaborative.
I feel sometimes with like work from home, it's a bit hard to kind of build the connection with other employees and walk over to someone's desk, have a bit of a brainstorm, things like that. So we try to build that in-house culture, and I think finding the right staff and then also making sure all the staff gel together is probably the biggest challenge, I think. Because obviously, everyone's got their different personalities and there's different departments, and just trying to make everyone work seamlessly together and have the same goal is probably a big challenge.
And do you find that because you started with such a tight-knit, loyal group of low turnover to start with, once you start expanding with more external people, that's when you start to find these?
Definitely. And it's like people can interview very well, and then when you hire them, they could be a different person. And that's another, I guess, risk and challenge. Whereas, you know your family, you know what you're going to get from them.
Yep.
And in saying that, like, we've built a very strong and good team, and a lot of our staff have been with us for many, many years, and I'm very grateful
But also-
for our staff.
But also new staff coming in. How good are they? Like we've had, I guess, like from the experience of hiring, firing, turnover, you realize now we've become better at who we identify would suit our culture, but also talent. And the past 2 hires and the third one coming in, unbelievable. Like we know these people are going to bring different levels, but also help our current team, level
Get
up as
better,
well. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you also morphed, like you're amazing marketers. You've seen the opportunity in the marketplace. You've been great product innovation. And now you're starting to get a scalable team. You said of 50 people or more. Now you have to learn a whole new master skill of scale leadership and management.
100%. I feel like you're only as strong as your team. And that's why it's important for us to make sure our team is strong in all departments. And we are. Like, I think we have the best team. They're very good at what they do. And hence why we don't have a massive team. It's because our team is good at what they do. And we're able to kind of stay nimble and diversify and change quickly and that kind of thing. So, yeah, very grateful for our team. It's definitely a challenge, but very grateful.
What excites me, makes me happy, is to see how all in they are. Like you can have people that come in, clock on and clock off, but when we have campaigns and some late nights, like we get pizzas and we lay them at the table. People are there till 6:30, 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and they don't care. They're not sitting there emailing you for overtime and stuff like that. And it feels like when you have this culture of people that really want to help and really buy into your brand, they're rocking up to work with your Muscle Nation, being proud, and new collections drop and they're buying it, and it just makes
supporting the brand.
Yeah.
But that's what makes us happy, like to see our brand on them, but also see them like loving their job. And we've seen people in our staff that have grown in the team and they've become from entry-level employees to managers now. And to see that growth in our team is exciting, but also it's also our responsibility to spend time with our team. We get to work, and sometimes as being in lead positions, you zone in on problems all day long. You get caught up on meetings and manufacturing, whatever you do all day long, and you don't realize that your team needs your time. And I think what we do really well is we come together and we bring into the team for a lot of breakouts and meetings and catch-ups. And I feel like our team needs our help to develop over time, and we give them that time. But also we hire the right people to help service, key positions as well. So I feel like it's a revolving case of us being able to service our people as well. And that's our duty of care, to service our staff.
Yeah, and I feel like as we continue to grow, we're going to keep bringing in more key people to help manage the growth.
Specialists in special areas.
Yeah.
And your brother's still running the warehouses?
They still run the warehouse.
They're the best, eh?
I bet you they've had to grow in their skill set.
Yeah, they have to. Like, our warehouse is fully automated now. Like, there's no paper. It's all like scan systems and computer operated. And
can I give a shout out to Andy and Joe?
You can give a shout out to Andy and Joe. Yeah. So like
outstanding.
Very fortunate that we don't have to touch that side.
Wow. Well, you've been innovators too in such a short period of time. From how you've scaled up and brought all these sort of things in. So it's very impressive.
It's like
be very proud.
We're in the game. I think once you're in the game, you learn really quickly. You got to want to learn really quickly. I think like if any young entrepreneur, like we're talking about staffing there, but at the start of your journey, Nathan, you and I done everything. We had like 10 hats on each.
You've got to do everything.
And I feel like you wear these, I'm grabbing these 10 hats on my head, but over time, you're happy to pass one on and then pass one on. But that comes in time. And I feel like, as a young person into this business, my biggest strength coming to Muscle Nation with you was that I could do video editing, I could do Photoshop, I could do email marketing, I could do everything, remember? Social media, post, everything. And I feel like the funnels, the back end, the email.
You're still doing that all in-house now, or do you outsource some of that?
Everything's in-house.
In-house. But the thing is, at the start, for the first year, Nathan and I did everything. We didn't want to hire anyone. Every dollar went back in the business. Like, we worked.
Customer service.
Returns, everything. I feel like, but that's the mentality. You got to be able to know that you're going to work.
Long days.
Yeah, long days.
Years. Yeah.
But see,
you
now,
don't have a choice when you're starting.
Yeah.
But that's the vision. All you're driven by is like that ambition to kind of like grow and reinvest your money. That money was better used in on ads or new athletes and influencers to make us money rather than paying for staff to just do a service.
But you've got to be able to fund that growth. So if you take it out after the first month of business, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You've got to fund that growth and keep funding that growth. And we're still funding that growth now.
Even the start, we weren't paying each other a wage for ages. Yeah. And there's like, listen, we should probably start paying each other a little bit, something to kind of survive. And I'm like, like I'm struggling, my credit card's maxed out. Maybe, yeah. But the thing is, for us, money wasn't the all and be all. Money wasn't the all and be all for us. Nah. It was the brand was like our passion. Yeah. We didn't care if we were eating, oats and tuna and rice. Couldn't care less. Yeah. But that's that startup mentality. Even these days, we still eat tuna and rice.
Love it.
I love it. Well, incredible journey. 8 short years, really. You've done such extraordinary things. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And we'll all be watching with great passion to see what happens next.
Just go into the supermarket and
hopefully we can keep on going up and up and up.
Sounds like it. I mean, the numbers must have been double on double on double for a while there. Like,
yeah, it's well, for the grocery side, it's still doing that.
Yeah.
So,
well, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. It's been awesome.